In at number 10, we have Nelson Mandela. Imprisoned for 27 years, he emerged to become South Africa's first black president. A tale of triumph over tyranny. Picture this, if you will. A man locked away for nearly 3 decades, his only crime being the audacious demand for equal rights in a land rife with racial discrimination. Yes, 27 long, grueling years in the prison known as Robben Island. This was not merely a jail, it was a crucible designed to break the will and shatter the spirit. Yet Mandela remained unbroken, his ideals unwavering. Ah, my dear redemption revelers. Tonight we delve into the tales of those who traded their prison jumpsuits for the spotlight. Join me as we count down the top 10 prisoners who became famous after their release. These tales are a testament to the transformative power of time served. Next, at number 9, we have Malcolm X. From a life of crime to a civil rights icon, he turned his prison cell into a classroom, a metamorphosis of the mind. Picture this, a young Malcolm embroiled in petty crimes, a life tainted by misdemeanors that would inevitably lead him to a prison cell. This was a man who, by all societal expectations, was expected to be another statistic, another life wasted. But Malcolm had other plans. When destiny dealt him a grim hand, he reshuffled the deck in a manner most extraordinary. Incarcerated but not incapacitated, Malcolm turned the confines of his prison cell into a sanctuary of wisdom, devouring books and absorbing knowledge like a parched land soaking up the rain. In at number 8, Martha Stewart, already a household name synonymous with refined tastes, suddenly found herself facing insider trading charges. Her reality transformed overnight, and the Queen of Domesticity was dethroned, sentenced to prison. Now, the more cynical among us might have expected her empire of elegance to collapse, for the brand to be tarnished beyond repair. But this is Martha Stewart we're talking about. A woman whose creativity thrived even within the confines of a cell. It was during this time that Martha made the most out of a less-than-ideal situation. Instead of wallowing, she took stock of her life, pun intended, and used her time behind bars to introspect, reassess and prepare for a rebranding that could only be described as deliciously ingenious. Next at number 7, we have Robert Downey Jr. From a troubled past to Iron Man. He's a superhero story of recovery, a marvelous makeover. You see, Robert Downey Jr. was once Hollywood's prodigal son, a talent destined for greatness but led astray by his vices. Drug addiction and legal troubles plagued him, costing him roles, relationships and reputation. It was a dark act in an otherwise promising script. But as they say in the movies, the hero always rises, and Downey is no exception. The depths of his fall only made his eventual ascent all the more dramatic, all the more meaningful. After multiple stints in rehab and brushes with the law, Downey decided that he would be no one's villain. Through immense struggle, grit, and with the support of a loving circle, worthy of a superhero team-up, he pulled off one of the most astonishing turnarounds in Hollywood history. In at number 6, we have Danny Trejo. From San Quentin to Hollywood, he's a tough guy with a tale of transformation, a cinematic saga of survival. Danny Trejo is no stranger to the darker corners of life. Born into a tough environment, the odds were stacked against him from the beginning. A troubled youth led to an even more troubled adulthood, and it wasn't long before Trejo found himself within the confines of San Quentin, one of America's most notorious prisons. There, he became a boxing champion, but the fighting skills he honed would soon serve him in a far more critical battle, a battle for his own soul. The man took a long, hard look at his life and chose a path of transformation. Fueled by a desire for change and inspired by the possibility of redemption, he took steps to improve himself, educationally, emotionally, and morally. When Trejo left prison, he carried with him not just the hard-earned lessons from a life of strife, but a burning aspiration for something more. Next, at number 5, we have Mark Wahlberg. From a life of crime to a Hollywood A-lister, he's a true Renaissance man, a tale of talent and tenacity. Let's set the stage, shall we? Mark Wahlberg, born in Boston, Massachusetts, was not exactly the poster child for an exemplary youth. A series of poor choices and run-ins with the law marked his early years. With a life shadowed by petty crimes and misdemeanors, one could easily imagine Wahlberg's story taking a tragic turn. But here's where the script flips, my cinematic scholars. Faced with a bleak future, Wahlberg made a transformative decision to rewrite his life's screenplay. And oh, what a rewrite it was. In at number 4, we have 50 Cent. From drug dealing to multi-platinum rap albums, he's a mogul who made it big. A rags-to-riches rap tale. Born in the rough borough of Queens, New York, young Curtis was exposed to the raw underbelly of urban life. A world far removed from glitzy Grammys and lavish lifestyles, this was an environment where the next meal was uncertain, and survival was the name of the game. But even in the midst of this struggle, young Curtis showed a knack for enterprise, though at first it was of the illicit sort. Drug dealing became his early career, a perilous path lined with potential pitfalls and fatal endings. Next, at number 3, we have Tim Allen. From a drug bust to the star of Home Improvement, he's a handyman of high hopes, a comedic comeback. Long before he became America's favorite handyman on the iconic TV show Home Improvement, Tim Allen was wrestling with the harshest realities. At the young age of 25, he found himself facing a life-altering moment, a drug bust that resulted in over 2 years of imprisonment. For most, such a predicament would spell the end of any dreams of stardom. But for Tim Allen, it was the catalytic moment for deep reflection and radical change. Emerging from behind bars, Tim decided to trade his illicit past for a future brimming with jokes and jests. He ventured into the realm of stand-up comedy, transforming stages into his new domain, a far cry from the prison cells and courtrooms of yesteryears. In at number 2, we have Oscar Wilde. Imprisoned for gross indecency, he emerged to pen some of literature's greatest works, a poetic parable of perseverance. Once the toast of London's social and literary scenes, Oscar Wilde was a man who wove words like a loom weaves fabrics, beautiful, intricate, and designed to make you ponder. He was the epitome of the late 19th century aesthetic movement, living by the principle of art for art's sake. His works like The Picture of Dorian Gray and The Importance of Being Earnest stood as glittering monuments to his talent. However, amidst this kaleidoscopic backdrop of acclaim, disaster struck in the form of an archaic, bigoted law that accused him of gross indecency, a veiled indictment of his homosexual relationships. The subsequent trial was nothing short of a public disrobing of his character. Imprisoned for 2 years with hard labor, Wilde's health waned, his spirits ebbed, but his incandescent mind refused to dim. We've reached the pinnacle, the apex, the zenith, number 1 on our list. None other than the man in black himself, Johnny Cash. He's our musical maestro of misdemeanors, a bard whose ballads were baptized in the fires of lived experience and moral complexity. But let's not jump ahead. For Johnny Cash was not a hardened criminal sentenced to years behind bars. His stints in jail were brief, overnight affairs really, but they were imbued with enough realism and human emotion to fill albums upon albums of iconic music. From his first-hand accounts came seminal hits like Folsom Prison Blues and San Quentin, tracks that didn't just top charts, but transcended them to become anthems of the human spirit, timeless in their appeal and visceral in their impact. It was not just the jail cells that shaped Cash, it was also his unvarnished look at the complexities of the human condition. He sang for the downtrodden, the forsaken, the rebels without a cause, and even the rebels with one. Whether it was love, loss, faith, or failure, Cash had an uncanny ability to delve deep into the shadows of our souls, illuminating them with his resonant baritone and unpretentious lyrics. And there you have it, my dear reformed rebels, a glimpse into the lives of those who turned their prison past into fame and fortune. Remember, these tales are real, and sometimes reality can be a real second chance.